Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Mossy Mart, and this week we are answering questions exclusively about Twilight Princess. So thanks for sending in all your questions, and let's jump right into them. First question comes from Gamer Dude Guy from YouTube. Did you like Twilight Princess when it first came out on the GameCube and the Wii? Yeah. I don't think there's been a main series Zelda game that I disliked when it first released, and Twilight Princess is no exception. I feel that amongst the 3D console Zelda titles, Twilight Princess, if I had to define it, I would say it was safe. Like, I feel that Ocarina of Time was the first 3D console Zelda title, but all the other 3D console Zelda titles that followed, Majora's Mask had drastically different the way the game played, and the time system, and its focus on side quests, like not required content. I feel it was kind of risky. It was a lot different. Wind Waker was a big risk considering the cel-shaded graphics and the drastic change to the overworld. And I feel Skyward Sword, when it went full-on motion controls, was also more risky. Twilight Princess, it did have the waggle controls on the Wii, but it did have the GameCube version, and that was the original version. But point being, even with the waggle, it just felt safe. It was almost as if it was like an expansion to what they did with Ocarina of Time. They had a lot of the same story elements, the same story arc, and it just felt safe. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I did like the game when it came out. Next question comes from Twilight Prince 64 from YouTube. Are there any problems you had with the original Twilight Princess that you hope to see resolved in Twilight Princess HD? I feel that Twilight Princess, I liked it when it first came out, and I think it sort of went through, what the internet calls the Zelda cycle. In anticipation to the game's release, a lot of hype, and once it finally did release, it got heavy praise, one of the greatest games of all time, yada yada yada. And then in that period after its release, people started pointing out all of its flaws and the negative aspects of the game. And it wasn't until the next console game came out that it got praise again. But anyway, that's basically the Zelda cycle. But I felt Twilight Princess, my biggest criticism of it, it was just easy. It was a very easy game. I don't know if I ever died in my main quest, my first quest through the game. And I feel that they have remedied that with not only the hero mode, which it is, so the hero mode will be the mirrored version, which would, I guess, sort of be like the Wii version. But you'll take double damage, and there won't be recovery hearts. So it's sort of like hero mode from other Zelda titles. And furthermore, there's also the Ganondorf amiibo functionality, which makes the game even more difficult. So I feel that they have addressed that to an extent. That being said, the game was the vast majority of the enemies in that game, when they hit Link, did 1/4 heart of damage. I could be wrong in saying this, but I think that was one of the only console games that did a quarter heart damage. I could be wrong in that, but the vast majority of enemies did so little amount of damage, with few exceptions, and I think that led to the game just being easy. That's not necessarily a bad thing, but I would have liked a more difficult video game, basically. And I feel that the changes, they have remedied the major concern I had with the game. Next question comes from El Shivo from YouTube. What do you think about why Nintendo didn't choose HexaDrive, the developers behind Wind Waker HD, to make Twilight Princess HD? Instead, they used the developer Tantalus to make Twilight Princess HD. That's a good question, actually. HexaDrive, before making Wind Waker HD, they made, I believe, Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater for the 3DS, so they did that port. I believe they did Okami HD, so they had some history making remakes, HD remakes, or ports to another console, and I thought they did a fabulous job with Wind Waker HD. I think they're not doing it now. I checked in, and they're apparently working on Final Fantasy 15. So they were probably preoccupied, maybe, because I imagine going through Nintendo's track record, they would have probably picked them again to continue on with Twilight Princess. I did look at Tantalus, the company making Twilight Princess HD, and honestly, the resume, it's extensive. It goes back to the 90s. Not many standout titles and a lot of small, more minuscule titles. So we'll see. I know Nintendo, they do a lot of quality control, so I'm not too concerned with them using a third party to handle the HD remake. So I don't think that'll hinder the quality. Next question comes from Sassy Statue via email. The new Cave of Twilight looks exactly like the Cave of Ordeals. What are your thoughts on this? I think you nailed it right on the point. I think they basically wanted to remake the Cave of Ordeals, but to be played exclusively in Wolfling form. And I think that's what the Cave of Twilight is. And that's all indications point to it. It's basically the Wolfling version. I feel that the Wolfling aspects of the game, in terms of the his attacks and just the gameplay mechanism, are very limited. You don't have all those hidden skills, and I think the combat is just very limited. So that is a little bit concerning if it's this really long gauntlet of enemies. But it's extra content, and I think I have confidence that Nintendo will do a good job. I do think it is very much, from what we've seen, there could be more to it, but it does just seem very much like Cave of Ordeals Part 2. And, okay, for better or for worse, that is what it is. Next question comes from Ariana Harder from YouTube. Will there be any story changes to Twilight Princess HD? All indications seems to be no. I think they are using the exact same story. I would imagine they're probably using almost all of the same text. Maybe there's a few textual changes here and there, but no way they're changing any of the overarching story. At least we have no indication that they are, and that would be shocking if they change even little details, so I doubt it. Next question comes from Backlex from YouTube. Do you think Twilight Princess HD will have more and or altered side quests? Yes, I do. I think there might be a few altered side quests, minuscule changes. I don't think there's going to be any grand, massive overhaul to the system that's in place. But I think Nintendo has shown with Wind Waker HD and even Majora's Mask 3D that making incremental changes is something that they have done. So I can see some changes. Maybe, they've already changed the size of your wallets. So even that is kind of a change to an extent to some of the side quests. In particular, I know the Malo Mart side quest, kind of ironic given the title of the mailbag, the Mossie's Mart, required a lot of rupees, a lot of donation of rupees, and it was just very time consuming. And I think Nintendo, with some of the remakes, they've made some of the, more annoying side quests or parts, they made them more accessible. So in this game, there was also the Pulsables collecting. And, there's the new Pole Lantern, which sort of is supposed to help you a little bit in that aspect as well. So I think marginal changes to some of the side quests will be there. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's an additional side quest or two in there. I think Nintendo, they added the fishing holes to Majora's Mask 3D. I'm not sure if we'll get anything that grand, but it wouldn't shock me if there's something small here and there. Next question comes from Hussein Alhira from YouTube. Do you think Twilight Princess HD will have a handful of new features that weren't in the original, or do you think it'll basically be the same? This sort of harks back to the last two questions. For the most part, I think they're playing it safe, and I think we've probably heard 90% of the changes that are in the game already. So I'd be shocked if there's much more in terms of changes that they haven't already announced, especially with early previews of the game already starting to surface. I doubt we'll see anything new. Next question comes from B Snags from YouTube. Do you think March 4th is a bad time for Twilight Princess HD to come out, considering The Division comes out 4 days later? No, I feel that there's several degrees of separation between The Division and Twilight Princess HD. And I think in general Nintendo has basically gone on their own schedule with game releases, and they don't really care what else releases. In fact, a few years ago when they changed their release schedule to release their games on Sundays, they don't care. I think they work on their own schedule, and Nintendo fans, I don't think, are impacted by the release of other games. Furthermore, I think a lot of core first-party Nintendo titles, they've always had like a long tail of sales, if that makes sense, where it's not just the game selling in opening weekend in the next 2-3 weeks. I think Twilight Princess HD, in general, most video games, I think the original Twilight Princess is a good example of this, is a game that it sells when it releases, it sells 6 months later, it sells a year later, 2 years, 3 years later, continuous sales down the line. Now, Twilight Princess HD is a little bit weird because it might be towards the end of the life cycle of the Wii U, but in general, I think Nintendo games have sold well over the long haul, the first-party titles. And I think they're pretty immune to other releases at the same point. And plus, The Division is a much different game. So, next question comes from Job Ramirez from YouTube. Are you going to remake the video walkthrough for Twilight Princess HD? We are in the process of working on the Twilight Princess HD site walkthrough, where with text and pictures, and we're upgrading that for the Wii U version of the game. In terms of a video guide, I don't think that is something I plan on doing in the near future. Down the line, maybe. However, I can say that there are some plans for future video walkthroughs, but not exactly Twilight Princess. I feel the one that's on this YouTube channel that Caleb made is a very solid guide, and I think it still holds up, and I hope it becomes useful even towards people that are playing Twilight Princess on the Wii U. Even though the Wii version is the mirrored version of the Wii U version. Although if you're playing Hero Mode on the Wii U version, then it's the same as the Wii. It's very convoluted with this mirror in the various versions, but point being, down the line, maybe. Immediately, yeah. Alright, last question comes from Marks Gatlin via email. Do you think they will ever bring Twilight Princess to the 3DS? Yes and no. I sort of answered this with the Skyward Sword question a couple weeks back. The 3DS, first of all, is sort of towards the end of its lifespan. I think it might have a year, 2-3 years maybe, of lingering games coming out, but I think 2016 might be the last year of some major releases. Maybe some linger into 2017. But Nintendo's looking ahead to the Nintendo NX. So I don't think we'll see many games being ported to the 3DS in years to come. That being said, I am saying yes to an extent, because I feel games will get ported to a mobile device eventually. Now, I mentioned 2 weeks ago Skyward Sword was a little difficult because of how the game played with the motion controls and whatnot. Twilight Princess, on the other hand, can be played with more traditional controls, and I think that Twilight Princess HD, as Nintendo starts diving further into other mobile aspects, maybe with their own hardware or even with third-party hardware, with phones and tablets and whatnot, and in particular as these, the processors and the graphics cards in these mobile devices become more powerful, I totally foresee a situation where a handheld, a portable, a phone, a tablet, whatever, has the same power that a Wii U has, where you can play that exact game on that experience. And I don't know if that's 2018, 2019, 2022, whatever it may be, but I think it is inevitable that Nintendo will release its content to a more wider audience. And in particular, I think some of their core console experiences right now that are not really playable on handhelds because of the power of the existing handhelds. When that existing handhelds, the power grows, I think other experiences like Twilight Princess HD, like the Wind Waker HD, will be able to work on portables. So, not to the 3DS, not in the near future, but yes, in the long term. At least that's what I think. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this week. I tried something different. I tried a lot of questions this week and some shorter questions. Let me know what you guys think. And next week, I'll open it up again to more miscellaneous questions. We are 4 weeks away from Twilight Princess HD, and I will probably do another Twilight Princess specific mailbag right after the release of the game. So you can always send your questions in multiple ways. Number one, this mailbag gets posted at zeldainformer.com, and you can make a comment at Zelda Informer, and you can post your questions. You can post them at the forums. There will be a thread in the forum in the mailbag section. You can leave a comment here at the YouTube video, or you can send an email to webmaster@zeldadungeon.net. Those are 4 ways that you can get your questions answered here on the mailbag. So I look forward to more broader questions about the Zelda series as a whole. And thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next week. Take care.